Welcome back, everybody. It's another Mindful Monday. You guys should really be in the studio when we're shooting this.
Yeah.
First of all, Holly and I are pretty reserved right now because we're not always.
Totally.
And it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and I love laughing with you. And so lots goes on in between. But welcome back. It must be Monday. Because here we are. You can watch it any day of the week. You have permission. But we come out on Monday. This topic we want to talk about, we finished teaching coping skills.
Yep.
But there's so much more when it comes to mental health.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that we want to talk about. And this is interesting because you, being a counselor, and now we're going to talk about, let's say you need counseling. How do you find a counselor that matches you?
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things I want to know from you.
Sure.
But do you have, like, best practices when people are doing this?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times what I hear when somebody's going into counseling for the first time is, I want them to like me. And then I'm like, hold up. It has nothing to do whether the therapist likes you. It makes no difference if the therapist likes you. If they are professional, they are there to do a job. And they have to earn your trust. Yes. You have to like them. It is, when I see a patient for the very first time, I will say this, and this is exactly how I say it word for word. There are two people in this room right now. One of them is smarter than the other, and I'll give you a hint. It ain't me. It's Kurt. No.
It's always Kurt. It's always Kurt.
But that's what I say.
Because you're like the guide, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what it's like to go through your things. And then the other part of that speech is, if you ever have a mental health therapist that tells you they know exactly how you feel, pardon my French, tell them to shut the fuck up and fire them because they're lying.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing. So, me, background in being a preacher's kid. Mm-hmm. So, listen, I've been in and out of therapy since my 20s because I think it's important.
Absolutely.
It's a great tool even if you're not in crisis.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's nice to have someone outside of your head that doesn't know you, that's like, okay, well, maybe look at it this way. Especially if you're me and you're like, I'm so smart. And that, because you get it. But here's the thing. So as a preacher's kid, you are taught, it is ingrained in us from day one. It always matters what others see you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it took me years to go in. Because if you're worried about, I want my therapist to like me, then you're keeping the mask on, which is the whole thing you want to get off, so that people, so you have to be willing. I always make a commitment to myself before I walk into my therapist's office, and that commitment is, I'm committed to the work, whatever it is, and it means I'm going to be vulnerable, or even if I feel like it's ugly, or, because if you get a good therapist, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a good therapist, number one, is going to tell you that they want to hear what you have to say. If you're not happy with what they're doing, they want to know it. Because if you don't, one of the things as a therapist you have to be willing to do if you want to be good at it for a long time is learn. You're going to learn things, in my new job, there's a huge learning curve, like it's going around like this. But it's a challenge that I relish because I want to be the best that I can be. There are other therapists who are better at certain things than I am. There are better...
That's what you're teaching clients as well, though, that we accept and celebrate what you are good at. And
yes.
Understand that you're a human.
Absolutely.
These are two great lessons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing that a therapist should always tell you, particularly if you're going into an agency or practice, if it's not a good fit, your therapist should encourage you to find somebody that's a good fit.
And here's something...
And not be offended by that.
Because sometimes, I know for me, sometimes I need to find a way to give myself permission for things.
Yep.
So I want you to look at the camera and tell people, are you ever just totally offended that someone needs to go somewhere else because it doesn't fit?
Oh, God, no. No.
Because I think part of that, I need my therapist to like me.
Yeah.
It's part of that 101 thing, which is
it's human
they're going to
relationships.
hate me. And a good therapist is like, no, we're here to do a job, and if this doesn't work, then that's great.
And I always say it with support. I love to support. My style of therapy is very much like what we're doing right now, except I'm just asking questions. We're having a conversation, and you are trying to find somebody you can tell the monsters under the bed or the secrets in the closet or whatever is in there.
Yeah, whatever you're
to them.
afraid to tell anybody else.
Yes.
be okay to tell your therapist.
And a lot of people get hung up on the confidentiality. And let me explain what confidentiality is. As therapists, we are covered and required to follow HIPAA. There are 3 reasons we would be able to violate your confidentiality. If you are a danger to yourself, you are actively suicidal. That does not mean you come in and say, I had thoughts of suicide. I'm not going to put you in the hospital for that. If you're like, I'm going to go jump off a bridge if you don't do something right now, I'm like, yeah, we're going to hospital. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get you to the hospital right now. Second, if you're hurting someone or you're thinking about hurting somebody else, if you come in and say, you know, my partner burned dinner last night and I just want to kill him.
Right.
I'm going to be like, I think that's a little much. Let's talk about it. Or my son doesn't clean up, and I'm not talking, well, yeah, I am. My son doesn't always pick up after himself. I'm like, I'm going to kill that kid one of these days. And then it's like, I'm not going to hurt a hair on that child's head.
Right.
But it's frustration. Now, if you say, I got a gun in the back seat, I'm going to go find so-and-so, and I'm going to go take care of him. Not only do I have to report you to the police, but I also have a duty to warn the person that you want to hurt.
Exactly.
And then the third thing is abuse. If you are abusing a child or a vulnerable adult. And those are it. We can fight just about anything. You know, right. Subpoenas, whatever. The point being, your safe place should be your therapist's office.
Yep.
And
yes.
if it's not,
yes, exactly,
then they ain't doing it right.
Exactly. Now, I have 2 specific things I wrote down because I wanted to be able to ask today. Sure. First of all, this is part 1. I think there needs to be this, you need to allow yourself to shop around.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Give yourself permission to, because sometimes I have seen like 3 or 4 therapists before I knew who I felt like I was.
And I've had clients do that as well.
Yeah, because it helps you find out. Whereas I still need to be able to vibe with my therapist.
Absolutely.
Even we're not besties. We're not going to. That's not what it's about. It's about, do I feel that comfort? I love my therapist because first day she's like, so here's different styles we can do. What are you comfortable with? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I'm obviously a talker. So
which makes you're like a therapist dream,
right?
That's awesome.
Like, here we go.
We don't want to be like, talk to me. Now, and a friend of mine's going to watch this and see me do that and go, I know who she's
like
talking
that's
about.
A thing.
You know
that's
who you are.
Here's the other thing that I wanted to ask your opinion on. I'm my own worst enemy a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So there is a difference between giving myself the permission to shop around and using that as a way to hide from actually doing the work I need to be doing.
That's true.
How?
And people will do that.
How do you do? How, when it's you, how can you self-check? How can, you know what I mean?
If you find yourself going through therapist after therapist or they're not telling you what you want to hear, then you're either not ready for therapy or you're not ready for therapy. Because the bottom line is you have to be ready. You have to be ready to do. The analogy I like to use is when you've had, and almost everybody has had a abscess tooth.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts, and you don't do anything about it until you absolutely have to. Nope. And you go into the dentist, and they have to do something about it, so it hurts a little bit more. And then my question becomes, how do you feel afterward?
Exactly.
And they go, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's therapy. It might hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you trust your therapist, they will help get you through.
I love the idea of talking to a therapist about that line.
Yeah.
And I love that you say, sometimes you have to tell yourself, I'm not ready for therapy.
That's right.
It's like anybody going through something, if they're not ready to accept help or to get help, then you're not ready.
No.
Yeah.
No, you have to be able to do the work.
Exactly.
We call it buy-in.
Yep. I use that phrase for entertainment purposes, but it's true. You want buy-in. I think that's an invaluable tool. So, see, we give you really good information here. But shopping around for a therapist, making sure you have permission to see if you vibe with them. You can go to 3 therapists, but if it becomes a habit, check yourself. Always check in. Are you able to take the mask off with a therapist? If you're never able to take the mask off and you've been to 18 in the last month, then it's probably a sign this is not the time.
Yeah,
because you're not ready.
Exactly.
So remember, we like to give you wonderful tools, great mental health discussions every Monday because we love it. And so please keep tuning in always. Check out every Monday, either on our website, thequeercentric.com, or go to YouTube. It's always there first because that's where we release.
Yep.
And we look forward to continuing these conversations and these discussions. So,
absolutely.
Until next Monday, guys.
Bye. Bye.